Welcome back to our community. Susie Thomas visiting with Becky Moreland and Greg Colbeck, both from Rahab Ministries. And for the new to the biblical, tell us where that name comes from.
Good question. There was a time when I had to come up with a name for this ministry, and it wasn't Rahab that came to me initially. But Rahab does come out of the Old Testament, and she was the one that hid the spies as they were going in to take over the promised land, and she was also the town prostitute. So using her as my example that God does not make junk and he doesn't have any throwaways, he did use Rahab in the lineage of Christ, and he found her worthy of that. So that was one reason why we went with the name Rahab Ministry, but it is also an acronym, which is just something that the Lord gave me, and it stands for Reaching Above Hopelessness and Brokenness.
Oh, love it. Okay, that is beautiful. I'm very curious as a person is working the street, to have someone like you walk up to them and start to talk to them and engage them in a completely different way, valuing them as a person and not as a commodity for sale. Tell me about the reaction and response that some of these women give when you first make contact with them.
Well, you've probably heard the term shock and awe, and that is initially what we see with these women when we approach them. And we always approach them in a very pleasant way, and a smile, and we usually have some sort of card in our hand to give to them that has a phone number, so we want to make them feel welcome initially, and we will go up to them and just ask if they're okay. What surprised me the most 14 years ago when we started doing this is that they actually stop and talk to us, and I was in total awe of that as well. It's like they see that we mean well for them, and they see that we care about them. So what we do is we have 2 or 3 people out there. We always have one male with us, and we utilize the biblical term of prayer and watchfulness, and that is what he will do. He's not going to engage in conversation with the women. It's always the women talking to the women, and we've never had anything happen in a negative way as far as a pimp or a boyfriend or a John or anybody like that accost us. Nothing like that has ever happened. Most often, I would say 90 to 95% of the time, the women will stop and talk with us.
Oh, so there is not someone watching to make sure that they don't talk to anyone. You haven't felt that.
Well, I'm not saying they're not there.
Okay.
Yes.
But they've not accosted you.
They have not.
They've allowed you to carry on
conversations.
conversations.
And if we know, we can kind of gauge from their reaction. They might be a little nervous. I've had women say to me, well, I got to go. My boyfriend's watching. And we know instantly that means that if we try to detain her, she could be in jeopardy of being abused.
Boy. All right. Well, it's not just on the streets that you have met people. You mentioned strip clubs as well. So
right.
Tell us a little bit about the ministry there that goes on there. That's a hard room to walk into, isn't it?
Well, initially, yes, it is. And it's amazing to me that we have had so much success. And I'll tell you a quick story. We went into the strip clubs, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years ago, myself and another woman. We had asked different organizations, women's Bible groups, churches, can you put together a gift bag that we could take in with us so we don't go in empty-handed? But in the gift bag, we tell the women, do this as though you were doing this for your daughter. What would you want for her to have? So we don't want junk in the gift bags. We want a new Bible or a journal or a pen, maybe some gloves and hats if it's wintertime, and we want them to be new and pretty. So we go into the strip clubs and we will talk to the bouncer or whomever and introduce ourselves and ask if we could stop in and drop off some gift bags for the girls. I am amazed at how many times they've just opened the doors wide open and say, come on in.
Really?
And we have built some amazing relationships with the women in the clubs, and they hate being there. Let me just tell you that. They hate being there, and they will use drugs and alcohol to numb themselves before they go in and do their dancing.
You just want to go up to someone and say, you don't have to do this. Is that basically what you're saying? You don't have to do this. And
right.
What keeps them there? Is there a bonding with that the proprietor, or?
Well, if you think about what took them there to begin with, and we really have spent some time over the years getting to know the women's stories from childhood on up. And it's almost like they have had no safety net in their life ever. And a lot of times they've come from broken homes or abusive homes. A lot of it is generational bondage. A lot of it starts at home. And then we'll see a lot of times the women that are in the more high-end strip clubs, when they get older and they're already addicted to the drugs, then they go into the lower end and they make $10, $15 a night, and it's just sad, and they feel like they have no other choice. And that, coupled with their arrests, if they've got arrest charges and felonies, they're not feeling like they're going to get a job anywhere else, and that there's probably no other hope for them.
So they feel this is their only means of income.
Correct.
And it's got to be difficult because I think back in the olden days, the burlesque, and you think of the older women that you just felt so sorry for, that's what they were stuck into. But these are young women who you think, oh my gosh, you can go to college.
Yeah. Right.
You can find a whole new path. And to be able to encourage them in that way, we want to help you. What do you need? What do you as Rahab Ministries need? We want to get on board with this.
Well, on that same line of talking about it's young women, the average age that a girl enters into a lifestyle of prostitution in the United States is between 12 and 14 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
Rahab has a plan to build a house for minor victims. We're halfway through getting the licensure. We're in the fundraising process. It's going to hold 18 young women. And anything.
Say that again, Greg. You're saying that the average age or the youngest age?
The average age.
Average age is 12 to 14.
12 to 14.
In the United States?
In the United States.
And we're talking Northeast Ohio here,
Northeast
in
Ohio.
our community here.
Well, the unique thing is that in Northeast Ohio, in Ohio as a whole, our law says that if you're 15 years old or younger and engage in any form of commercial sex, you don't need to prove force, fraud, or coercion at all. You're instantly a victim of human trafficking. So how can the average age that someone's in prostitution, which is commercial sex, be 12 to 14? And
how
the laws
can
say
it?
that every single one of those girls has to be a victim of human trafficking by law.
Exactly. And every single person that is paying for that is committing a crime. They're all underage.
Yeah, a felony crime.
Right. How are these people not in jail or prison, rather? And how? I guess
We're asking the same questions,
Right.
just so you know.
And we get asked those
Wow.
questions all the time. Our focus, Rahab, is hope in Christ to broken women. That's our tag, hope in Christ to broken women. So all of our efforts, all of our resources go towards these women and these young girls. We aren't in the prevention side. We're not really going after the rings, the gang rings, the pimps. Our focus is on getting the girls the resources they need.
Yes.
And I think the first and foremost resource they need is a safe place to live. So, and that's proven to be the case with this adult house we have open, and it's our hope that we would continue with this minor house. We've got the land purchased, we've got the specs of the house built, the blueprints are there. We just need the funds.
Well, it's quite awesome what you're doing. Let's focus on the hope now. Let's really focus on the hope part of this now. How can we help you? What are your needs as far as a ministry? How can we fund you? What kind of resources do you need? Because there are folks listening who have resources and are going to hear this, and you know who you are, and this is pulling on your heart right now, and you're saying, all right, how can I give?
And people ask us a lot, what are your needs? And I don't really know when they ask that question, do you mean do we need a can of coffee, or do you mean do we need $800,000 to build a minor safe house? So if you think about it, we've got the drop-in center in Summit County. We've got a safe house already open, and anything that you use in your home, we need in our homes. And so if you are shopping and you buy a large can of coffee or sugar or creamer, buy two. We need them at our places as well. We also have several freezers, and we feed these women every day of the week. And if you want to make a casserole and freeze it, let us know. If you want to help provide the furniture for the safe house, we will take that. So right now, our budget for the minor safe house is $870,000. We need to start raising that fund. So it's anywhere from soup to nuts as far as what we need.
What is your website?
Rahab rahab-ministries.org.
Okay, got it. And we will give that again before we're finished here. What about items for the gift bags? What do you put inside these gift bags?
We like to put in things like maybe some nice lotion, but we don't want the ones that you took from the hotel rooms. We want a
larger
nice,
size,
larger, new size. If you think about things like nail polish, lip gloss, a real cute pair of gloves for the winter, or maybe a devotional book or a journal or a nice pen, chocolate. I mean, what woman doesn't want chocolate? So you think about those kind of things, and I think that the presentation is part of it too. When we took them in initially, it was at Christmas. So we had beautiful Christmas bags and tissue, and we had a lot of girls just weep. I mean, just weep. And a couple of them said, if you don't mind, I'm going to open this on Christmas because this will be my gift. So you know that you're really touching some hearts. So think in terms of what would you want your daughter, your sister, your granddaughter, your niece, what would you want her to have is what we would want you to put into a gift bag.
Is there anything in place yet where, say, colleges or universities or technical schools are in touch with you as far as helping to train these young women into another source of employment?
You want to take that one? We've been in touch with a couple of universities in the area, and we're trying to come alongside because, like Greg said earlier, we do a holistic program when they are in residential programming with us, and we will find out what their needs are. Could it be a GED? Could it be higher education? We've got one young lady that's applied to Cleveland State and has been accepted. We've got some that are just going after their GED training. So we try to take each girl and look at the whole girl and the whole woman and the whole picture. What is it she needs? And maybe it's just dealing with her trauma and counseling for the first year. It depends on how fast she wants to grow in that area. We do look at ways that we can find them to be employed. We looked at ways that other business owners, maybe small family business owners, would be willing to take a chance with some of these girls. Because a lot of times the larger corporations, if they see a felony on their application, they're going to throw it away instantly. So we got to be creative with it. And we've talked to different organizations that would be willing to help us start our own micro businesses.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. I'm sure you've got some success stories you'd love to tell us about in the last minute or two.
Sure, yeah. Recently we were at a high school in our area, and it's rather large. They have about 1,700 students. One of their classes decided to put on an awareness event, which was centered around the issue of human trafficking, and they brought us in. We brought in a 16-year-old girl, and I can't tell you her name, but she gave this speech that blew everybody away. Every student in there was silent. They were captivated by her message, and it was, this is what happened to me. This is what the partying you guys are going out and doing can lead to if it gets out of hand.
Wow.
But there's hope on the other side, and I'm not involved or wrapped up in any of that right now. A 16-year-old girl stood up in front of her peers, 1,700 of them.
That's incredible. And I understand some of your employees now.
Right.
Some people, as far as getting another job, you have hired them.
We have, and we have heard over and over and over the importance of peer counseling. And we've got 2 women right now that have come through Rahab over the years and have now become a success story and employed by Rahab.
Just incredible. All right. Go to rahab-ministries.org and find out more. Greg, Becky, thank you so much for being with us. We've got to have you back, find out more. We'll do some follow-up on this. And thank you for joining us on Our Community.